I know it's crazy to say this, but there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to the 2025 New York Giants. Even though they have a tough schedule, they did a lot in the offseason to try to get this ship moving and try to get back to the success they once had. These are just a couple of players that I consider X factors for the 2025 season, and if they perform well, can really take this team to the next level. What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video. Today, we're going to go over some game changers, X factors, however you want to call them. Just players that I think if they perform well, if they get the ball moving in 2025, they can really change the New York Giants' presence on the field. They can really turn them into game changers and can really take them into a next step this season. Now how I really come to the criteria of game changers or X factors, however you want to say it, it's not really about players that haven't performed well, that you want to perform well, or even players that I think are really good that are just going to continue to be really good. These are just individual players that I think separate themselves from the rest, have a unique skill set, and if they perform well in their position group, can take this team to another level and become an actual threat where other teams have to focus on that particular player because they possess a certain skill set. Or even just filling in a position that had a huge hole that they can step up and become better and help that position kind of rise up. Also, I want to make an announcement. Make sure you guys go into the description right now. I'll be promoting this on every single one of my videos until the season starts. I am doing a Pick'em League this year on ESPN, the ESPN website. I did it a couple of years ago. It was a big success. A lot of people loved it. Now I have plenty of more subscribers. I really want to do this with you guys. The first, second, and third place winners will be receiving a prize yet to be announced. But make sure you guys go in the description right now and sign up with the passcode 27 Squad. So the passcode will be in the description too, just in case you forget or don't know where it is in the video. Also, another announcement. I'm going to be revamping my membership here on YouTube. I've been trying to figure out what to do with it, and I think just due to a bunch of situations that happened during this offseason, I've been getting a lot of demonetizations and flags on my channel for all 22 film studies. Usually I can slip by with those, but for whatever reason, like the NFL is like flagging a bunch of videos and demonetizing a lot of my film reviews, and those take a lot of work to do. So a way to kind of get around that, I really still want to give you guys content, and I want to give you guys a lot of content, and YouTube does not reward me, going ahead and doing film reviews, like 10 film reviews in 1 week. It's just not going to happen. So I'm going to make it part of the membership, here on YouTube. If you guys want to see a bunch of film studies and film reviews on this channel for New York Giants players and maybe even other players during the 2025 season, and make sure you guys join the membership. I'll be doing that all week throughout the season. Obviously not yet because the season hasn't started yet, but I will be starting in the preseason. We'll be starting with the first preseason game, and I'll be doing film reviews on even the smallest players, players that catch my eye that I really want to go over. I'll be making a lot of videos on them. And also, you guys will be able to recommend what you guys want to see. If you guys, want a certain player to be prioritized over another, or want a certain player right away, I'm definitely going to be looking at that and taking as a suggestion. But I want to give you guys something more on this channel that I actually have the means of providing, and I think through the membership is a perfect way to do that. So if you guys are interested in that, and also the Pick'em League, check the description. All right, so the first player, without further ado, we got to talk about it. Jaylen Hyatt, the wide receiver that the Giants drafted back in 2023. We all know him. We all maybe love him. But you guys know that the Giants traded up for Jaylen Hyatt. They wound up selecting him with the 73rd selection in the 3rd round. They traded up from the 3rd round, the 89th overall spot, and they also gave up a 4th round pick, 128th overall, I believe, from memory. to get Jaylen Hyatt. So 2 picks in one draft to go up and get Jaylen Hyatt. They jumped in front of the Cleveland Browns to get him. Now, I knew Jaylen Hyatt was going to go through a learning curve. That's why I wasn't a big fan of drafting him for the Giants, especially in the first or second round. I was more okay with it in the third round, but I don't want to be the one to say I told you guys. But I told you guys. Now, his first season, I think, went kind of expected. I know he's a deep threat. Everybody loves his deep threat ability, but we all knew that he had an issue running routes, right? We all knew that that was a big kind of Achilles heel to his game, and he finished his rookie season with 373 yards, and I thought he's just going to go up from there. He's going to have another season under his belt in the NFL, learn some more releases, learn some more routes, and he'll just get a lot better. We still know not one reason why Jaylen Hyatt is not performing well. We can come up with a bunch of scenarios and a bunch of reasons, and obviously we know that he's not exactly a versatile receiver. He's more like a one-trick pony. I don't use that in a derogatory sense or something demeaning, but that's kind of what he is. He's a guy that is a gadget type player where if you want a burner, you want a deep threat on the outside, you throw in Jaylen Hyatt. Now, he played a lot of slot receiver at Tennessee, but the types of routes that he runs is just not routes that you're going to see in the NFL from the slot, especially not how Brian Daboll likes to use the slot receiver. Just look at Wan'Dale Robinson and the routes that he's running from the slot. Jaylen Hyatt ain't doing that. But we still really don't know why Jaylen Hyatt is not developing. We've seen plenty of gadget players have somewhat success in the NFL. They just find their niche. They just find what they're good at, and the coaching staff also plays into what they're good at. We don't know why Jaylen Hyatt, one, is not getting any playing time, and two, when you watch him on film, it looks like he's learned nothing. But I really think Jaylen Hyatt, if he turns it up, if he figures it out, he can be an X factor for the Giants. The Giants already have Malik Neighbors, who is a star. He's a star-studded receiver right now. And then you have Darius Slayton, who is a solid number 2. Wan'Dale Robinson is a good slot underneath. But if you get a guy like Jaylen Hyatt with the way that we have Russell Wilson or even Jameis Winston, the way they like to throw the ball and, really threaten the safeties and really threaten the deep part of the field, Jaylen Hyatt can really get a lot of success from that, and it's going to be a really big part of it, with the quarterback play than we've seen in years past with Daniel Jones, who just didn't like to throw it deep. It wasn't a good matchup with Daniel Jones and Jaylen Hyatt, but now with Russell Wilson, now with even Jackson Dart, if he develops and Jaylen Hyatt is still around, I think can have success. Now, Jaylen Hyatt was in an interview where John Schmelk interviewed a lot of receivers, and this is what he had to say about his offseason training and where he's at right now.
I'm sure you heard what your teammate Darius said. He said, I think Jaylen put on 15 to 20 pounds of muscle in the offseason. I'm like, that's a lot. Do you want to share how much you did add, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I played at like 170, 171 last year, about 194, 195 now. So,
really?
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's what darkness does to you. It changes you.
194.
Yep.
You haven't lost any speed though.
Oh no, the speed will stay there. But for me, it's just learning to run at this weight, learning to play faster, play bigger, play stronger through contact, and I felt like that was one of the things that I need to work on from last season. Just felt weak.
Now, this is how you know you can't believe measurements on Google, on the NFL website, and things like that. They had him listed at 185 for, I think, 2 years now. He said he was playing at 170 pounds, and now he's at 194. 194 is right around like Odell Beckham's weight back when he was a rookie. He was playing at 190. He was 5'11", 197. Jaylen Hyatt is 6 foot, I assume 194 now. I'll take him at his word. And he gained about 25 pounds, which is insane. 20 to 25 pounds, which is insane. He says in that clip there that he didn't lose any speed. Listen, it's just simple science. If you gain 20 pounds, you're going to be losing speed. Is it going to be enough speed that is going to make a difference in your game? I don't think so. So I think it's a net gain. It's a net positive for Jaylen Hyatt to gain that weight and hopefully be able to beat press and be better on his releases, which is something that he's really struggled with in the NFL so far. But Jaylen Hyatt, if he if he turns it up, he's definitely an X factor for this Giants in this season. Let's move on to another 2023 pick, the first round pick. The Giants also traded up for this player as well, and that is Deontay Banks, the cornerback, who is now slated to be the cornerback 2. They tried to experiment letting him kind of spread his wings to be that cornerback 1 in 2024, and it just did not go well. Now, in a lot of ways, we think about Deontay Banks in his rookie season in 2023 as a good developmental season, but if you really go over the numbers and just watch him on film, it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good, but you could see flashes in the pan, right? You could see there's something there with Deontay Banks where he could potentially be a decent starter in this league at corner, but there's still a long way to go. And in a lot of ways, 2024 and 2023, both those seasons, some stuff he got better at, some stuff he kind of regressed in. Like, if you look at the numbers, there's a lot of things he improved on, a lot of things he regressed on. So it's really hit or miss with Deontay Banks, and that's why I consider him an X factor going into this season, because if you have a chance to solidify that cornerback 2 spot, which the Giants have been desperately trying to figure out for years now. Like, even when Deontay Banks was in the cornerback 2, they really didn't know what they had in Deontay Banks in that season in particular. And then going into last year, like, we really had no idea, right? We had Nick McLeod there. We had Trey Hawkins competing. We had Cordell Flott competing every year, it seems like. Like, we had no idea what we had at cornerback 2, and now we have a chance to figure that out with Paulson Adebo now being slated as that cornerback 1, who I have confidence in, and then Deontay Banks kind of bringing it back a little bit, playing that cornerback 2 spot and trying to, I guess, regain his confidence again, try to, not skip steps and develop the right way. I still have hope in Deontay Banks. I still really like him. He was my pick in that draft in 2023, and I really thought he was a good fit for the Giants. Obviously, him going into a Shane Bowen defense is a little bit different, but the way that the Giants have been kind of running their defense and organizing their defense and their roster tells me that they want to play a lot more man coverage, and that can play into Deontay Banks' benefit. Now, I like Deontay Banks, but I'm telling you, 10 touchdowns allowed in 2 seasons, and I believe he allowed 6 last year, is just not acceptable, okay? And it seemed like a tradition last year when teams got to our 1-yard line that they would just do a 1-yard slant on Deontay Banks, and it just always worked. Always worked. We're talking Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin. All right, moving on. We're going to lighten up the mood a little bit. We're not going to talk about players that haven't worked out very well, that need to step up, that can be X factors in this season. We're going to get a little bit exciting. Let's talk about Abdul Carter. Now, you might be saying, KB, come on, really, Abdul Carter, an X factor? It's not just because I think Abdul Carter is a great player and I think the best player in the NFL draft. That's all I gotta say. It's not just because of that, because of the situation he's in and the element that he can provide for the New York Giants is a luxury that not a lot of teams have. I think this is a perfect scenario, and he's a perfect piece of what the Giants need on this defense, because the Giants are already packed with edge rushers where we have Brian Burns, we have Kayvon Thibodeau, 2 decent starters. A lot of people were saying during draft time where Abdul Carter doesn't really fit this defense. Where does he fit? I think he fits perfectly. Having a guy like Abdul Carter and his past experience as an off-ball linebacker puts him in an exact perfect situation to play on this defense and provide creativity for Shane Bowen, something that he lacked in 2024. Maybe it was the roster he had in front of him, or maybe that's just how he runs his defense. But now you are forced to do something different with Abdul Carter, because you're not going to have Kayvon Thibodeau or Abdul Carter on the bench the majority of the time. You are going to find a way to get all of these guys on the field at the same time, and it's something that Shane Bowen spoke about during minicamp, during the OTAs. He talked about making sure you had your best guys on the field as much of the time as possible, and Abdul Carter has a lot of experience as an off-ball linebacker, was still a pretty damn good off-ball linebacker. You're going to be able to do so many things with him. offenses are going to have a tough time trying to focus on where he's at, how he's aligned, and then having to worry about Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau, Darius Alexander, Bobby Okereke, just a bunch of players as well. Having Abdul Carter just completely changes the game. Yeah, sure, you can put Dexter Lawrence either lining up at 0 tech or 3 tech as a versatility. You could put Brian Burns on on a 5 tech, or you could put him out in coverage. Oh, big surprise, a little creative. What about having Abdul Carter rushing the A gap from an off-ball linebacker spot, then switching it up and then lining up as like in a wide 9 stance off the edge? Or he can do so many things. He's going to be a problem, and he's going to help out the rest of the defense as well. Abdul Carter is an absolute X factor if he as a rookie and performs how we expect him to. He's going to completely change the way we run our defense, and we already have talent there. That's how good he is. All right, let's move on to the offensive side of the ball. Now, we can talk about a lot of things, quarterback, offensive line, but I really want to talk about the run game when it comes to Tyrone Tracy and Cam Skattebo. I love both of these players. I'm extremely excited to see them on the field. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Tyrone Tracy. I was really championing bringing on Cam Skattebo in the NFL during the NFL draft. Having both of these guys together provides a good 1-2 punch, and also the Giants have Devin Singletary as well. But if both those guys, now it doesn't have to be both of them, but it could be one of them. I really want one of them to just establish themselves as the guy, establish themselves as the running back that the Giants are going to rely on the majority of the time. It's good to have a 1-2 punch, right? But I really want, obviously, having those guys on the field at the same time is going to add competition, and competition breeds success, right? So you're going to have these guys pretty much competing with each other for playing time and things like that. And one of these guys are hopefully going to separate themselves from the other and become that number one guy to rely on, whether it be Tyrone Tracy or Cam Skattebo, and that's in turn is going to help the offense as a whole. A guy that the Giants and the offense can rely on in the running game. The Giants need to get back to that. We already know the power of Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs having a good 1-2 punch there, or even a Saquon Barkley just recently, having a workhorse running back, a guy that you can rely on in the backfield where it takes a lot of pressure, alleviates the amount of stress that the quarterback has to put the team on his back and get the ball moving downfield, or even the wide receivers if they're not separating on the field. You don't have to rely on them all the time. And also the offensive line and pass protection. It's always been a really big problem with the Giants. Now, of course, you still have to worry about the offensive line as far as run blocking, but having a good, strong running game is always a benefit for the offense as a whole, and it helps open up the passing game as well. All right, for our last X factor, we got to talk about John Michael Schmitz. That's right, JMS. We're completing the trifecta of the 3 potential first round picks in the 2023 draft, and the Giants drafted all 3 of them. You guys remember that when we thought we drafted all 3 of these guys, they were first round potential? Man, we've come a long way since then. Now, I'll be honest with you, between Deontay Banks and Jaylen Hyatt and JMS was probably my least favorite of these guys. I still didn't want Jaylen Hyatt. I probably would have drafted JMS over Jaylen Hyatt, but I like Jaylen Hyatt a little bit more. That's just draft philosophy. I won't get into that right now, but I didn't like JMS. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't like him, and I didn't think he would be that. I didn't think he was that good. I just didn't think he was that good, and he's worse than I expected. Now, his first season was god-awful. It was bad if you watched him. He was horrifying to look at. He was a lot worse than what we saw in college. That's going to happen a lot, especially with the offensive line. We've seen it even with Evan Neal. But the only problem is 2023 was god-awful. 2024 was just awful. All right, it wasn't god-awful. It was a little bit of an improvement, but it's still bad. He's still just not a good center. He's just not a good starter. He's just not a good NFL player right now. But JMS, I would hope the Giants get something. I mean, he's a second round pick, for crying out loud. Like, he's playing terribly. Like, if the Giants can get him to play at least to an average level, the offensive line could be a lot better than where it is right now. Now, look at where the Giants were in the beginning of the season. They had the same offensive line that the Giants are slated to have right now, with Andrew Thomas, John Runyon, JMS, Greg Van Roten, and Jermaine Illuminor. Those 5 starters were also the 5 starters day one in 2024, and for the first couple of games, they actually were performing pretty damn well. It wasn't until injuries really started to take hold, as it always does, and start to force in these terrible offensive linemen that the Giants don't want to throw out there, that we don't want to see, right? Because they don't have great offensive line depth. And then the statistics of the offensive line starts to diminish a lot. But the biggest problem with the Giants, and it's always been the case even when they're performing well, is the interior of the offensive line. Now, John Runyon is okay. Greg Van Roten is all right. I mean, he's still not good, but all right. The big problem is JMS, and he's the center, arguably one of the most important, probably the most important interior offensive lineman of the 3 is the center. And you know, he does well in the combo block. He's smart, but for whatever reason, he's allowed 11 sacks in 2 years. 11 sacks. These are not from edge rushers. These are from defensive tackles. He's allowed 11 sacks in 2 years. Now, I'm not calling him an X factor as if I expect him or I need him to perform like a top 5 center this year for the Giants to have success. But I'm just saying, if JMS gets it click, like if it just clicks for him and he performs at least like an average center, to have your center, your right tackle, and left tackle performing well, you can be a top 15, scratching the surface of a top 10 offensive line if you have the majority of your offensive linemen performing well. And it can help out the rest of the offensive line as well. And obviously, when you have a great offensive line, you're helping your passing game, you're helping your running game. So JMS, I consider an X factor because of how poorly he's played in the past and where I think he could be at least an average NFL center, and that can definitely help the Giants in big ways. But that's all I got for you guys today. Make sure, if you guys are interested in the Pick'em League during the season, look at the description. Again, the code is 27squad. And also, if you guys are interested in getting a lot of content during the season for film studies and film breakdowns for the Giants and other players from other teams, make sure you guys join the membership, and we'll get started on that soon. I think I have more announcements that I can't think about right now, but those are the 2 main important ones. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. And I hope you guys had a good 4th of July. Yeah, see you soon. Woo!